G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. We've got the new Blackstar Amped2 on the bench today, which is an extension of their previous Amped1 product, which I've featured on the channel before. The Amped1 was designed essentially to complement your pedal board, kind of like a portable backline amplifier that could take your existing rig and add the flexibility that something like a modeler with a built-in power amp could give you, because you could use the cab sims in there, you could have different power tube style response out of the power amp in there. There was a scalable 100 watt power amp and some pretty straightforward basic amp tones in there. The Amped2 kind of takes that to a different level, where this is designed as an all-in-one solution, maybe to replace your entire rig. It's essentially a modeler for somebody who doesn't want to use a modern digital modeler with a lot of menu diving and custom setup. This is a lot more what you see is what you get. So you've got the amp section with 3 modes now. You've got a scaled back power tube response section on here, EL84s, 6L6 and EL34s. You've got the switchable wattage for your power amp, and you've got built-in overdrive, boost and fuzz, built-in modulation. There's chorus, flanger, tremolo and phaser, 3 different types of delay, 3 different reverbs, a tap tempo and kind of utility switch on here. If you hold it down for different modes, you can access a few select functions from some of these, but there's basically not a lot of menu diving on this. You've got 1 button per effect. The amp is always on, and on the back, you've got the ability to run it to an 8 or 16 ohm cab. You've got an XLR DI out and a headphone or line out over here. Furthermore, MIDI over TRS, 2 little pedal power jacks over here, an effects loop, and then your input section over here. What I want to do is just kind of plug this in and use it as a what you see is what you get style rig. I'll start on a Strat. I'll just kind of noodle around and pull some tones so you get an idea of how this thing works without having to hook it up to a computer or do any deep editing. Like I said, this to me is really pitched as being a modeler for people who don't like the deep dive aspects of modern modelers. So let's see what it's got to offer. Let's start off on the Strat. This is a 90s Buddy Guy signature Strat with gold lace sensors. I'm plugged straight into the Amped2 and I'm taking the XLR output. I'm on the first factory cab on here. Let's just dial in some tones using the amplifier section. You've got 3 main modes called USA, UK and Classic. USA to me is Fendery, UK to me is Voxy, Classic to me is Marshally. So you've got the 3 main food groups covered there. Furthermore, you've got this power amp response section over here where you can choose between EL84s, EL34s, and 6L6s. So I'm on the USA mode with 6L6s. Let's just dial in some tones on the amp. You could hear in there that the EL84 is kind of a little bit more open sounding, a little bit chimey. The 6L6 is smoother and more compressed, and the EL34 is a lot more forward and punchy. Let's do this. Let's go to the UK mode on here. I'll leave these settings the same, but I'll go to the EL84 response. I'll do the same thing. Let's see what we get out of it. think I would expect it, but I kind of like the 6L6 mode on there with the classic amp. It's just a little bit more compressed and forgiving. Let's do this. Let's maybe go to the UK mode on here. And I'll go back to that EL84 response, and we'll just kind of take that as our starting point, and we'll use the other effects sections to just kind of put together what I might consider a rig if you're going to go out and just do some kind of pop rock covers stuff. So let's just see where we've got this dialed in. I think I had the bass and the treble pushed up a little bit less mid. I'm going to start with the gain control a little bit lower on there. Let's have a listen to what we get out of the neck pickup. So I've got some nice light crunch happening in there. That's light crunch for me. It may not be for everybody else. Let's do this. Let's add a bit of reverb to this. And the reverb switch is all the way over on the right. The reverb controls are just here. We've got controls for room, spring, and plate. I think personally, I would have preferred if you say had the drive controls right above the drive here, the mod right above the mod, the delay right above the delay, maybe the reverb controls up here. Reverb is a little bit more set and forget for me. Nevertheless, let's have a listen to what we've got. I've just got this set up as a kind of basic plate. Let's just quickly hear the spring and the room next to that. We'll start with plate again. I normally like plates on guitar anyway. Let's set up the drive section on here. You can set it as a boost, a drive with some actual clipping, or as a fuzz. The fuzz has a pretty cool secondary setting that you can access by holding the shift button to change the bias on it. Let's just start out with the boost, and let's see if I can just kind of use this for more gain. Can get properly nasty on there. I think I just like the kind of standard drive with the drive a little lower and the tone up with the level all the way up. For now, let's hear some modulation. You've got the ability to choose between a chorus and flanger in different ranges of the knob. You've got tremolo and you've got a phaser. Let's hear all of those. Quite fond of that chorus. You also heard you have the ability to have a standard trem along with a harmonic trem, and then the phaser gives you classic phaser controls on there. Let's hear some delay on here. You've got three main delay modes. One is called linear, so that is just going to be a very clean digital style delay. We've got analog and we've got shimmer. Let's just check out what is going on with linear. Spoiler alert, I really like the analog mode, as I'm sure a lot of people will. But another function on here, if you hold down the shift button and you go to the time control, you can set the delay sync to any rhythmic value you like. So let's go for a dotted eighth note. I can then tap in the tempo over here to whatever I like. I've got the feedback up around noon and the level all the way up. This gives me like a 50-50 mix. Let's check it out. And then shimmer gives you this pitched delay with feedback. I like this with a longer reverb time and level up the back. So let's just hear the verb and then I'll bring the delay in. Let's try something out a little chunkier now. I'm on the classic mode and I'm going to set this up for basically a high gain Marshall style thing. Then I'm going to use the drive in front of it to kind of tidy up the low end of my guitar and just really kind of push it the way I would use a tube screamer in front of a high gain amp. I've got the 6L6 response on at the moment. I'll first let you hear the differences in response and then we'll kick the boost or drive pedal in. Let's check out some absolute filth using the built-in power amp now. I'm running it into my Marshall 4x12 with greenbacks. I've just mic'd it with a simple 57 on the dust cap. Let's have a listen to the classic mode. 6L6 response, 100 watts. I'm having a much better time with that than using the DI for heavy tones. Let's have a listen to how the power amp scales. I'm going to normalize these clips for you, but 20 watts is definitely quieter than 100 watts, and 1 watt is a lot quieter than 20 watts on there. Let's have a listen to the differences in tone once I normalize these clips. We'll just start on 100 watts. And a bit of fuzz, a bit of phaser, and some delay for some psyche goodness right there. You do have MIDI via TRS and an effects loop on this. Like the Amped2, there's even 2 little pedal power outlets on here if you wanted to add other pedals to your rig. Essentially, the way the effects work on this, to me, they're very utilitarian. Like if you want a kind of special effect style reverb, you're much better off using a dedicated reverb pedal for that, but you could just add that on the side and then power it from the little pedal power supplies on the back of the unit. Similarly, if there's a particular overdrive or modulation effect that you really like for its particular character, you're probably going to want to use that over the, I don't say generic in a bad way, but again, like kind of generic utilitarian types in here. The drive in front of that kind of more distorted thing definitely does the tube screamery in front of an amp style tightening thing, which is really good, and it sounds really, really good through a cabinet and mic'd up. I think I definitely prefer that over the DI tones, but for the cleaner stuff, I think I actually just kind of prefer the DI tones in there. Just that stock factory cab lets you plug into this, plug in the XLR and go straight to PA, and you've got some very workable tones. That is all for today. Big thank you to CMI Music here in Australia for loaning me this unit to do the video with. I'll link them in the video description, and I'll link some more information in there. If you like what I'm doing on the channel, there's links to my Patreon and the music that I make there, as well as some free IRs as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you all next time. Thanks so much for watching.